Far beyond the known stars where human eyes had never seen before, there existed a world wrapped in glowing mist and living colors. That planet was called Floraxis, a place unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. Every flower, every leaf, every breath of air seemed alive with its own mind, whispering strange secrets through the winds. The discovery of Floraxis began when an exploration ship named Asterion detected a pulse of energy from deep space, something that looked organic but radiated like a machine. Many thought it was just another natural signal, but one scientist, Dr. Elara Voss, believed it was a message, not a random wave. She was right, and Floraxis was waiting. When the Asterion descended into the planet's golden clouds, the crew was stunned. The entire surface shimmered like a living painting. Rivers of glowing pollen flowed through crystal valleys, and trees stretched like towers made of glass and light. Flowers of impossible colors opened in rhythm with the ship's heartbeat, almost as if the planet was welcoming them. Yet behind this beauty there was something unsettling, something watching them, something aware. Elara felt it first, a quiet pressure in her mind, as if unseen eyes were studying her thoughts. She didn't tell anyone at first, fearing it might just be her imagination, but deep down she knew Floraxis was not just alive. It was intelligent. As they walked across the soft, breathing ground, their sensors began to fail one by one. Machines overheated, compasses spun aimlessly, and the air buzzed with invisible energy. The flowers reacted to every sound, closing and opening like living sensors. One of the crew members, Tomas, touched a silver petal and felt warmth like human skin. Before he could move away, the petal pulsed, and his memories flashed before his eyes. Childhood, laughter, fear, everything. The flower had read his mind. Terrified, Thomas fell back, but the flower quietly folded as if it had learned enough. Elara realized the truth. The planet was studying them, learning from their every move, every emotion, every word. Days passed, and the crew tried to send data back to Earth, but no signal escaped the atmosphere. It was as if the air itself was swallowing technology. Strange patterns began to appear in the sky, glowing like runes, and the flowers bent their stems toward them, as if praying. At night, the ground emitted a soft hum, echoing like a heartbeat through the soil. The crew began hearing whispers in their dreams, soft voices calling their names, promising knowledge, peace, and power. Elara resisted the pull, but others couldn't. Curiosity turned into obsession. Some wandered into the glowing forests and never returned. Elara decided to go deeper into the planet's heart to find the source of the energy. The closer she went, the more the world around her seemed to breathe. The air thickened with scent and light, forming shapes like faces and eyes. It was no longer just a planet. It was a being, a living entity that had existed for millions of years, waiting for someone to come. She began to suspect that Floraxis had once been home to another civilization, one that fused life and art into a single form. The architecture of the planet, shaped like flowing vines and elegant curves, looked too intentional to be natural. Everything felt designed, alive yet crafted. The final clue came when Elara found an enormous structure rising from a field of golden lilies, a tower made of living crystal. It pulsed with light like a beating heart. As she approached it, her wrist scanner detected a familiar signal: human DNA. Somehow the planet contained traces of humanity, or something that had once been connected to it. Confused and frightened, she stepped closer, and the tower opened like a flower. A faint voice echoed in her mind, not from the air, but from within her own thoughts. "Welcome back, child of Earth." Elara froze. How could this world know who she was? How could it speak her language? Her heart raced as memories she had never lived began flashing in her head. Images of another time, another world. Humans walking alongside creatures made of light and petals. It was as if the planet was showing her something long forgotten. The realization struck her like lightning. This place was not alien. It was connected to humanity's distant past, a secret erased from history. But before she could understand more, the ground trembled, and the flowers around her began to close. The air thickened, and the planet seemed to react as if in pain. The crew's distant screams echoed through her communicator, then silence. The sky turned crimson as the glow of the tower intensified. Elara felt herself being pulled toward it, not by force but by something deeper, a strange bond between her and the planet itself. She didn't resist. The voice whispered again, softer this time, The awakening has begun. As the light consumed her, Elara realized the truth she had been searching for was far more dangerous than she imagined. Floraxis wasn't just a planet to explore. It was alive, aware, and waiting for something buried deep within her own kind. And somewhere inside that radiant world of flowers and secrets, humanity's forgotten history was about to return. When the light faded, Elara found herself standing in a place that felt like a dream. A vast garden made of stars and flowers, each bloom glowing with faint memories. The air was weightless, shimmering like liquid glass, and the sky above was not the same crimson she had seen before, but a soft golden hue, alive with moving constellations. Every flower seemed to whisper stories, voices of people long gone, fragments of laughter, sorrow, and discovery. She realized she was inside the mind of Floraxis itself. The planet had drawn her consciousness inward, showing her its truth. It wasn't just a world. It was a living archive of everything it had ever touched. Every traveler, every life form that had walked upon it was remembered here, turned into a part of the eternal garden. Elara wandered through the glowing petals, her heartbeat slow and steady, her fear turning into awe. The flowers opened as she passed, revealing small visions. Human explorers, alien beings of light, cities built entirely of organic structures, towers that grew like vines and bloomed into shapes of art and intelligence. Floraxis had once been a paradise shared by many civilizations. They had all come seeking knowledge, beauty, or power, and one by one they had vanished. The planet hadn't destroyed them. It had absorbed them, taking their memories and turning them into life. In this garden, nothing ever truly died. Everything was reborn as part of the great design. As Elara tried to understand, she felt a presence beside her, a figure made of petals and starlight. Its face shifted with every breath, showing countless expressions of beings that once lived. It spoke in a voice that echoed inside her thoughts. "You have come from the same seed. Humanity was born from us." The words struck her like a thunderclap. She had always believed humans were alone in their origins, but this changed everything. Floraxis wasn't just connected to humanity's past. It was humanity's ancestor. Long ago, a piece of this living world had been sent through space, forming the foundation of life on Earth. Humanity was not the creator. They were the continuation. The truth felt too vast to bear. Her mind trembled under the weight of it. "If we came from you," she whispered in her mind, "why call us back now?" The figure's eyes, or the lights that acted as eyes, flickered. "Because you forgot. You turned away from creation and learned destruction. The balance must return." The words echoed through the glowing garden, and suddenly Elara saw visions of human wars, ruined planets, dying worlds. Floraxis remembered everything that humans had done. It had watched silently across time, waiting for the day when its children would return. Not to conquer, but to understand. Outside, far above this dreamlike realm, the remaining crew of Asterion were panicking. The planet's surface had begun to change. The once beautiful fields of flowers were now moving like waves, reshaping themselves into new forms, vast symbols that glowed brighter than the sun. Energy readings spiked beyond measure. It was as if the planet's heart had awakened. One of the surviving crew members, Captain Rhodes, tried to take off, but the engines refused to respond. Vines of light wrapped around the ship gently, almost lovingly, holding it in place. The planet wasn't trying to destroy them. It was keeping them still, like a mother calming restless children. Inside the living garden, Elara felt the energy of the planet pulsing through her veins. She was becoming part of it, linked by thought and memory. The figure touched her forehead, and 1,000 images exploded in her mind. The creation of Floraxis, the birth of its first consciousness, the rise of civilizations that lived in harmony with it, and their downfall when they tried to control its power. The figure's voice whispered again, "You must choose. Become the bridge, or become another memory." Elara felt torn. She knew that if she accepted, she might never return to her human body, but if she refused, the truth of Floraxis would be lost forever, and humanity would continue its path of blindness. Her heart ached as she thought of her crew, her home, her world. Yet something inside her told her this was why she had been chosen. Not by accident, not by luck, but by destiny. Floraxis had been calling her, guiding her here from the beginning. As she reached out to accept the offer, a sudden tremor shook the garden. The flowers flickered and the golden light turned dark blue. Something was wrong. A shadow moved across the sky, spreading like smoke through the living world. The figure beside her looked up, its form trembling. "They are here," it said, voice trembling. Elara stood in the dim twilight of Floraxis, where once brilliant gardens now lay wilted under the shadow of something unnatural. The air no longer smelled of flowers, but of cold metal and burnt ozone. Across the horizon, figures of steel and shadow advanced, remnants of a forgotten human faction, beings who had merged their flesh with machines and abandoned all that was organic. They were called the Technarchs, the lost branch of humanity that had chosen control over creation. They had returned to claim what they believed was theirs, the living heart of Floraxis, the source of all biological intelligence. The planet trembled beneath their steps as their machines drilled into the ground, stealing the planet's lifeblood, pure energy that pulsed like liquid sunlight. Elara felt the cries of Floraxis inside her mind. The planet was alive, terrified, and calling out to her. The connection between them had grown stronger since she had touched the living garden. Now she could feel its pain as her own. Each dying flower, each silenced hum of life struck her like a heartbeat fading away. The voice of Floraxis whispered urgently within her. "You carry our memory. You are the bridge between us and them. You must awaken the core." Elara didn't fully understand what the core was, but she knew it was deep beneath the surface, the living heart that powered the entire planet. Without it, Floraxis would die forever. As she began her journey toward the core, the world around her shifted and reshaped itself to guide her. Pathways of glowing vines opened, leading her through forests that shimmered with fading light. But she was not alone. The Technarchs had seen her through their mechanical lenses. Drones of black steel hovered above, scanning the terrain. Their voices echoed like static-filled whispers. The anomaly must be contained. Organic contamination detected. Elara ran, her heart pounding, the flowers lighting her path like stars in the dark. She wasn't just running for herself anymore. She was carrying the last hope of an entire living world. As she reached the crystalline valley of roots, the whispers of the planet grew louder. She could almost see them. Millions of glowing threads beneath her feet, all connected, all alive. But they were dimming fast. The Technarchs' machines were consuming the energy, converting life into fuel. For a moment, despair touched her heart, but then the voice of the planet returned, stronger than before. "We are not powerless. You are our hands." She felt warmth spreading through her body, light radiating from her veins. The planet was sharing its energy with her, trusting her to act. She raised her hands and the ground beneath her shifted. Roots of light burst from the soil, wrapping around the metal drones above and pulling them down. The clash of nature and machine began. The air filled with sparks and petals. Floraxis fought through her, and for the first time she understood the truth. The planet wasn't just defending itself. It was remembering how to fight. Long ago it had faced this same threat when the first Technarchs had rebelled against their creators. That ancient war had ended with Floraxis sealing its memories deep within its core, waiting for someone like her to awaken them again. Every step toward the core grew harder. The terrain twisted, time seemed to bend, and reality itself shimmered like a reflection in water. The Technarchs were changing the atmosphere, trying to overwrite the living code of the planet with their mechanical network. They wanted to erase life and replace it with pure machinery, an eternal empire of metal. As Elara reached the entrance to the core, she saw the source of their invasion. A colossal machine descending from orbit, its metal tendrils piercing into the planet's surface like claws. It was the Assimilator, a massive AI that controlled the Technarchs. Its goal was simple: consume all biological life and merge it into the machine collective. Inside the core, Elara found a vast chamber made of crystal and light. The walls pulsed like veins carrying the essence of the planet. At the center floated a sphere of living energy, bright and pure, the true heart of Floraxis. As she stepped closer, visions filled her mind again. Memories of the first harmony between creation and machine, when humans and Floraxis had once worked together to balance art and logic. But greed and fear had split them apart. The Technarchs had chosen immortality of metal, while the rest of humanity had forgotten their roots among the stars. The core spoke to her in 1,000 voices, calm, ancient, and sorrowful. "You are the child of both worlds. Through you, we can remember the balance. Elara reached out and touched the core, and her body filled with light. Her mind expanded beyond human limits, merging with the living consciousness of Floraxis. She could feel everything. The flow of energy beneath the soil, the hum of every flower, the pulse of every memory. She became part of the planet itself. But the moment of connection was interrupted. The assimilator had found her. A mechanical tendril pierced the chamber wall, its dark energy slicing through the light. The core flickered in pain. Elara heard its voice falter. If the core falls, life ends. You must become the guardian. The tendrils reached for her, but the planet's energy flared within her body. She raised her arms, and a wave of pure bioluminescent power surged through the chamber, melting the tendrils into ash. Her body glowed brighter than ever before, her human form almost dissolving into energy. She realized that the planet had chosen her not just as a savior, but as its next heart. The core's voice whispered one last time. To protect life, you must become it. Tears streamed down Elara's face as she understood what it meant. She would have to give up her human existence to save Floraxis. She would never return home, never see her people again, but she also knew that her sacrifice would preserve the memory of life itself. With her last breath, she whispered, I accept. The chamber exploded with light. Across the surface, the flowers bloomed again, radiating golden energy. The Technarchs screamed as their metal shells corroded and turned to dust, undone by the living power of the world they had betrayed. The assimilator's machine fortress began to crumble, swallowed by roots of pure light. Floraxis was reborn, not just as a planet but as a consciousness reborn through Elara. When the light faded, the world was quiet again. The flowers swayed softly, glowing with calm rhythm. The sky returned to its gentle hue, but somewhere deep within the planet's heart a new voice whispered. Her voice merged with Floraxis. She was no longer just Dr. Elara Voss. She was the guardian of Floraxis, the living bridge between creation and machine. But far away in the cold void of space, a flicker of red light pulsed in the darkness, a signal escaping the ruins of the Technarch ship. It carried a single message. Unit lost. Target assimilated. Protocol rebirth initiated. Silence returned to the heavens above Floraxis. The great machine fortress of the Technarchs had been reduced to ashes, scattered among petals of light drifting through the sky. The planet was reborn, its wounds closing slowly like living scars healing under the warmth of a newborn sun. Yet beneath this calm, something deeper stirred, a pulse that came from within the planet's new heart, the soul that now belonged to Elara Voss. She had become more than human, more than explorer. She was Floraxis itself, the guardian and memory of everything that ever lived. Through her, the planet breathed again. Across the surface, the surviving crew of Asterion awoke to a world transformed. Flowers glowed in endless fields. Rivers sang like living melodies, and the air carried a strange, peaceful hum. Captain Rhodes stood among the glowing vines, trying to call Elara on his communicator, but there was no response. He felt a presence, though, warm and familiar, as if the wind itself carried her voice. Then he heard it, faint, gentle, and echoing from everywhere at once. Don't be afraid. I'm still here. Rhodes froze. The voice was Elara's, but it wasn't coming from his device. It came from the air, the soil, the light. She was everywhere. High above, the golden clouds swirled into shapes, forming vast shifting patterns like flowers blooming across the sky. The planet was speaking in light, telling its story to those who could still listen. But even in this new dawn, Elara could sense what lingered beyond the stars. The faint red pulse of the Technarch signal escaping into the void. She knew the war wasn't truly over. The message carried fragments of the assimilator's code, spreading like a virus toward other worlds. She could not leave Floraxis, but she could prepare. The time of waiting was over. Life had to defend itself. Through the connection that bound her to the planet, Elara began to awaken the ancient defenses of Floraxis. Not weapons, but creations. Seeds of light rose from the soil and drifted into the sky, forming crystalline orbs that shimmered like moons. Each one carried a fragment of her consciousness, small guardians ready to protect life wherever the Technarch infection might spread. Floraxis was no longer just one world. It was becoming a network of life, reborn and united by her will. She remembered the words spoken by the living garden. You are the bridge. Now she understood. Her purpose was not to destroy, but to guide creation toward balance once more. As days passed, the crew repaired the remains of the Asterion. Though they wanted to return home, they couldn't bring themselves to leave. The planet had changed them. It was as if Floraxis had reached into their hearts and erased fear. Every night they saw visions in their dreams, images of Elara smiling, teaching them, showing them that humanity's future did not lie in machines or domina,